say recording in progress right there. So let me formally introduce myself. To everyone here, my name is Sarah Earl. I am one of the educational leadership consultants for Delta Sigma Pi. So essentially my role is traveling the country, meeting with all of you, providing resources, recommendations. I am a full-time staffer of central office, and you probably have received an email or two from me at one point. So it's very happy to make your acquaintance and be here tonight. However, I am not the main entertainment for tonight. I do want to turn it over and tell you a little bit about today's presenter. Today we have Jay Carpenter, who is from Gamma Omega, Arizona State. He is an alum and the founder of Desert Blockchain, which is the largest blockchain meetup in Arizona. He has taught as an adjunct professor at University of Advanced Technology, and focusing on a technological approach to the intersection of blockchain development, cybersecurity, and the Internet of Things. Jay has an extensive background in technology, entrepreneurship, and finance, and he is a graduate of Arizona State, which is with an undergrad degree in business and an emphasis in finance. He then went on to obtain his MBA from the University of Southern California with an emphasis in finance. He is passionate about emerging new realms in communications, finance, and the societal possibilities associated with the blockchain-centric future. So everyone here, please welcome Jay Carpenter.
Hello, thank you, Sarah. I appreciate that introduction. And I have a presentation tonight, but basically, and I'll tell you a little bit about how this all developed and came together. But there's one thing I would like to say up front, and maybe you've heard this before and this is old news, but you know, as undergrads, as students, it is a lot of time to study, go to classes, and you generally have a very full plate. And what we're going to be talking about tonight is a way for you to add to your studies, and in my view, to add something that's could be really, really valuable to you in terms of creating a career and getting a job and so forth. So we're going to be talking about fundraising for sure, but the idea is this is a fundraising approach where you can actually not only connect and network, which I highly, highly recommend, but also get involved in a project that starts to give you some experience. And that is really the goal of tonight, is hopefully create with your chapters an opportunity for some of you to connect and have entrepreneurial and actual real business experience that can be very valuable in terms of distinguishing yourselves when you're out looking for a new job or a career or some sort of path. And I would like to acknowledge everyone that's on this session tonight, because as Delta Sigs, you have distinguished yourselves. You have gone above and beyond what most students do in terms of showing some initiative, getting involved in an organization, and everything that you're involved with Deltasig is, in my opinion, outstanding and shows that you have something above and beyond what other students don't have that haven't basically joined an organization like Delta Sigma Pi. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and run through some slides, and then we're going to open it up for questions and comments and so forth. And we do have Emma Lyon on, who participated last semester in our endeavors here, and she's going to talk a little bit about what her experience was, and also maybe share with us a little bit about the internship that I believe she started today. So let me go ahead and screen share. And before I get into the screen share and the presentation, does anybody have any questions at this point before I launch into the presentation? If you do, you can just raise your hand or put questions in the chat, and I will rely upon Sarah to let me know that that's happening. So this is a presentation to introduce the program. And here is and we'll have a link to this presentation so that you can review all this information. But this is basically the third iteration of the dynamic Deltasig fundraising initiative and opportunity. And this is a recording that basically kicked off last semester's project and initiative. And oops, do that. So let's see, there we go. Now we're back on track. Yeah. Okay, so the idea is what is possible with chapter fundraising? You know, I've looked through some of the suggested projects that the fraternity offers on the website, and those are great. They definitely are a way to raise money. I've also talked with some of the chapters and got kind of a sense of what they do. One chapter was doing coupon sales and basically endeavors like that. Those are great, but what if there was an additional way to not only raise money, but also create projects that give you some experience and start getting you connected with the business community that will be more than just raising money. And I'm going to share with you the project that I created and our chapter undertook when I was an undergrad. So community connections, there's an opportunity here to collaborate and connect with alumni and also faculty collaboration, and do projects that are complementary to your academic study. So that's basically some of the topics we're going to be talking about tonight. And you know, here is a definition of dynamic, and I think it's always a good idea to get a definition of what we're talking about. But I got to move my ribbon bar, but the dynamic definition on the right is a force that stimulates or changes progress within a system. Evaluation is part of basic dynamic of the project. So the number 2 on the left side is forces or properties that stimulate growth, development, or change within a system or process. The dynamics of changing social relationships or relations. So the term dynamic was selected with the intention that this is a multi-dimensioned opportunity for you. So what's possible: collaboration, connection, exploration, experience, and fundraising, obviously. And you know, I always throw this in. We haven't achieved it so far, but it is possible that you could approach the faculty, some of your instructors and so forth, and say, hey, look, we did this project, and could I get some extra credit for it if it's aligned with what you're studying? So we're going to go through some examples, and let me start with this. So you can probably instantly recognize me there, but if you can't, I'm the second one from the left. And this is a photograph from the local newspaper that our chapter did this fundraising project, and you might be able to see the date. This was 1977. But basically, our chapter did a survey of people entering and exiting the Arizona State Fair. And we compiled the data. We did a presentation to the executive board of directors for the Arizona State Fair. And we received a fee of $2,500 for this, which was a record amount for our chapter ever. And we also got this notoriety of the article in the paper, some publicity for the chapter. But more important is the people that you see in this photograph. This project basically kept, it was a foundation of a friendship and a lifelong connection that, lasts to this day. So this is how I got started in this idea of, hey, let's create a fundraiser that not only raises funds, but also creates a project that we can explore and tout and so forth. And interestingly enough, a few years after this project was completed, I went to the state fair, and there was actually a company that had started that was doing, fair surveys and, consumer preferences and everything else. So in retrospect, this could have actually launched a whole business opportunity for me and some of the other folks involved. So I share that with you because this is kind of the genesis of our conversation for tonight. So here's some ideas in terms of what your chapter might be able to create: consumer surveys, maybe, obviously a little more advanced than what we did with printed paper surveys and so forth. You might be able to do new product focus groups and integrate things, cutting edge things like design thinking. You might create a project that has virtual characteristics to it, where you're doing online virtual services and feedback, reaching out to customers or prospects of a particular business or firm. So you could create this around nonprofits, for-profits, obviously, possibly public administration, and basically you're only limited by your imagination on this. So, and it could be internal products and services. So for example, if I was let's say a roofing company or something like that, I might do some sort of project around, okay, how do my services stack up against the competition? And you might also just do something like, hey, XYZ business or XYZ roofing, would it be valuable if some of our talented students and members went out and did a survey of your competitors, what they're doing, maybe talk to try to find some of the competitor customers and so forth. So that's just designed to kind of give you an idea of, what's possible. That's sort of path number one. And, frankly, path number one so far out of 2 trials seems to take a little more something that I haven't quite put my finger on yet than what the chapters had the capacity to do in the past. So what happened basically, actually the first iteration of this is I connected with somebody that is with one of the major consumer packaged goods products or companies. There's basically two major companies, and one is IRI Worldwide. But if you're not familiar with consumer packaged goods, it is all the things that you buy at the supermarkets, canned goods, beverages, you name it, cleaners, whatever. And as you scan those packages on your way out, there is a company like IRI that's compiling that data and creating reports and information for the companies that are selling those goods. So here's a little item that I pulled up from Investopedia, but basically this says, and this has a little video if you care to watch it, it's only about 1.5 minutes, but it tells you what consumer packaged goods is, and that it's basically a $2 trillion a year business. And I saw another item that said it was going to be going up to like 14 trillion. That's trillion with a T in the near future. So I think there's a ton of opportunity, and just with this particular segment, particularly if you're in marketing, data analysis, and so forth. So what does IRI have to do with this? Well, the person I connected with an executive at IRI, Karen Salenta, and she agreed to work with the fraternity. And we actually, on the first semester, we actually got some of the members of the fraternity that we were working with set up with accounts on the IRI platform so that they could start to learn how the platform works, do some data analysis. And the intention at that point was to assist IRI with some sort of project for which the chapter would get some sort of donation. And basically, there was a change in the management at IRI, and basically that did not go forward. The next, and let me show you. So this is the website from IRI. But the next semester, which was last semester, we basically had Emma's chapter that showed some interest. However, Emma Lyon, who's on this session tonight, was the one that basically we focused upon and had some conversation and worked with Emma around possibly working with IRI and some other areas where she was interested in getting an internship. And the other key part is we determined that it might be smarter and better and more effective that instead of the Deltasigs working on a project for IRI, it might be more beneficial for the Deltasigs to work with one of the consumer packaged goods companies that IRI is actually a client. So that's the approach that we have as like a second alternative. So if you or your members don't have a particular project in mind or whatever, here's sort of our baseline project where we can talk with IRI, we can see if there is some sort of consumer packaged goods company in your area, something like I think Pop Chips was a product in Emma's area that we were thinking about approaching. I think maybe Monster Drinks, something like that. But chances are there's in the area that you're at, and it doesn't necessarily have to be geographically located, but there's probably some company that is a client of IRI where some of your members might be able to do a short-term project, maybe the max 45 days of doing some data analysis or reporting or some whatever for a customer of IRI. And that's sort of the baseline that we're going to explore and approach this go round. And I've got a little bit more about that. So how would that look? Well, I am asking tonight the folks that are on this session to talk to your chapter about this opportunity. And then in a little less than 2 weeks, we'll have another session. And that session will basically be designed for up to 2 chapters to participate in this initiative. And I'll show you how to connect with me later, but if your chapter is interested in either the IRI or creating a project from scratch, then I ask you to email me, and I'll give you my email at the end of this. And it's basically like a first come, first serve to get involved with this, and then we can have the next conversation in a little less than 2 weeks, and I'll give you that schedule in a bit. But if you choose the IRI path, one of the next steps will be to schedule a Zoom session with a couple of the IRI executives and talk with them about how a couple of your members might be able to assist one or maybe two clients of IRI that's in a particular industry or selling a particular good that you would be interested in, working with. So the overall intention again is for whoever participates in this to open up an opportunity for you to position yourself for an internship or possibly even an entry-level position in consumer packaged goods and market data analysis. So, and as part of that process, we will request some sort of contribution to the chapter. My goal is at least $1,250 for the chapter. I don't know if that's high or low for your particular chapter, but that's sort of like my minimum threshold for a chapter to be involved in this project. So the next steps are for you folks to go back to your chapters. If you're interested, talk about this and, sort of brainstorm what the project teams might be, possibly talk to your faculty, any alumni, and any other participants, meaning like maybe you would want to collaborate with the computer science department, as well as, the business school, other departments in the business schools to participate in this, and then create some objectives and timelines. And basically, I'm your guide to help you do all of that. So our next session for the two chapters that basically are interested in this will be, 7 p.m. Eastern for chapters on the East Coast, and then 5 p.m. for chapters on the West Coast. And I've got my email there. And this, if you're not familiar, there are fundraiser suggestions on the fraternity website, and you can take a look at that, and maybe that'll give you some ideas as well. But here is my professional profile, and then here is all my contact information. So let me stop the screen share with that. And let's open it up for any questions or comments. Just go ahead and jump in. All right, Emma, will you share with the folks what your experience was last semester and tell us a little bit about the internship that I believe you started today?
Yeah, so I go to Concordia University, Irvine, and I'm a senior this year. I'll be graduating in May. I joined Delta Sigma Pi last year in the spring, and Vice President of Finance is my first actual position in the club starting last fall, and that's how I heard about this this Deltasig fundraising meeting from last semester that Jay showed you of the screenshot of our meeting from last semester. And I joined that session not really knowing much on how to fundraise or help my fraternity be involved with the business world or with fundraising. So I thought it would be a great opportunity to start learning about that. And it actually gave me much more opportunities than I thought it would, because not only did I learn about these great ideas on how to get my fraternity involved with IRI or say consumer packaged goods companies, but it also let me talk with Karen Salenta herself and learn more about the consumer packaged goods industry, because I didn't even know that that was an industry I would even consider be working in one day. And once I learned about that, one thing led to another. I started talking to professors who are also involved in the industry, and I continued to keep in contact with Karen about the industry as well. And eventually I started to look into jobs related to consumer packaged industry companies on Handshake and jobs. And I submitted an application to one company that I found really interesting, and now I have an internship for this spring. So when you keep putting your foot in the door, starting with just showing up to a meeting as important as this, things can lead to another. And I'm still here, and I came back to this session to hopefully continue the path on possibly trying to get my Rho Phi Delta Sigma Pi fraternity to be involved in a fundraising activity with IRI or some local business.
Cool. Thanks, Emma. Awesome. So thank you so much. Any questions or comments or anything at this point?
Oh, also thank you, Jay. And I'll tell I have people in mind from my fraternity to tell them about this information, because I know 2 people in my club who are interested in consumer packaged goods or data analytics or marketing. So I'll definitely talk to them about this.
Very cool. And Emma, you were interested in like an entertainment company, an area, but did what you learned from Karen Salenta about consumer packaged goods, did that tilt the scales any for you?
Yeah, it did tilt the scales. And also this professor that I really respected and really enjoyed being in his class last semester, that also really got me into this industry. And now I'm like really excited for this internship that I'm doing with Neuro Reserve. They're a brain health supplement company. They have one product right now. They're a startup, but I really like the way they're organized. So, and I'm glad to be helping out with the marketing and marketing research side of it. So it did tip the sky. I am still interested in entertainment, but I didn't know, and I'm actually glad to know that I found something that I'm just as equally, even more excited about for this semester.
Cool. And by the way, Emma, you know, and this probably goes without saying, but you've now connected with Karen Salenta. So as you get into your internship, if you have any questions about the consumer packaged goods industry, you're obviously, you know, she's available as a resource. So, all right. Well, we're pretty much towards the end of our time as I see it. And, you know, feel free to, you know, once you've talked to your fraternity, you've reviewed the presentation, feel free to reach out to me, email, text me, give me a call, whatever. I would love to work with you. And Emma, it's been a delight working with you last semester. And, you know, I think your initiative was definitely inspiring to me.
Thank you.
Cool.
Wonderful. Any last minute questions for Jay or Emma? We got some people saying thank you, pass the date on to the next session. Awesome. Glad to hear that, Megan. Any other additional questions for either of these two? I'm hearing none. So again, I would like to thank you all for taking some time out of your evening or late afternoon, wherever you're at today in the world, for joining us on this webinar. Really appreciate it. You do have the information for the next webinars for both the East and West Coast, so feel free to check those out and register for those, as well as contacting Jay if you are interested in furthering this development and, you know, getting your chapter involved with something really unique. So again, thank you all for taking the time out, and we hope that you all continue to have a great rest of your evening. Thank you.
Bye-bye.